Good morning. Unity in the Gold Country. All of our friends here in the sanctuary and on Zoom. Good morning, Zoomers. My name is Christy Stevens, and I'm going to be Reverend Jerry's platform assistant for today, filling in for Marlene. So everyone, just in your heart, hold her with love and see her as the vibrant, glowing, healthy being that she is in truth, okay? So I want to welcome any newcomers today. Do we have anybody that's, welcome, welcome. Well, we have a packet that we can give to our chaplain, Sandy Spurgeon, is going to get those and give them to you. And Sandy is our head chaplain. You're lucky today if you came for prayer. She just holds such a beautiful prayer space. So if you want, you can always, at the end of the service, go out the door to the left and keep going left, and you'll find the chapel. It's just a lovely place to be. Oh, yes. Can you hold your hands up again if you're new? Sandy has the packets now. There you go. If you can't see on Zoom what's going on, there's a little back and forth between Sandy and the audience. It's great. There she is. Okay, well, Zoomers, if you have your candle at home, why don't you get it now? Because we're going to begin with lighting the Christ candle. In the beginning was the One presence of the undivided and unmanifest, pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness and its love in the visible form of creation. We acknowledge this presence in us and as us, as the creative energy of the divine feminine and masculine, expressing in all our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this presence in our companion, Mother Earth, and in all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ. We light our candles as visible reminders of that Christ presence expressing in, as, and through us in this present now moment and in each moment. This is the truth. Let us own it. And now we have our wonderful musician with us today, Kelly Garmeyer. And if you will stand, we will open with I Do What Gives Me Life.
I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. In these moments I am given, in situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. In these moments I am given. In situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, 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 hey. In these moments I am given. In situations calling me, I now choose this path of living. I now choose what sets me free. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. I do what gives me life. Hey, hey,
Good morning, everybody. I'm Reverend Jerry, and I just want to say to all those on Zoom, you don't know what you're missing. We are having so much fun here, and you know what? We have a whole load of new people who just came last Sunday and this Sunday, and you're not getting to know them. So I really want to encourage people who are staying home, all right, get out of your pajamas, or, come in your pajamas. I don't care. Just bring a blanket or something. Be discreet. Anyway, it's great to see you all here this morning. We have a little baby, 3 months old, who's here for his second time, Tiger, and his parents. Welcome, Tiger. Welcome, one and all. So today is, again, one of those days where we start down a road, 7-week fall program. We every year, apart from last year, we didn't do it last year, we have a study book, and then we work the themes in every Sunday. And the book, of course, is Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul, and this is our second time doing it. And the thing that I always say to people on the first Sunday, I'm sure you guys know what I'm going to say. I always say that today is the first Sunday of the 7-week program, so I'm going to wish you Happy New Year, because it will go that fast between now and January 1st. So just getting it in ahead of time. And so the poem that I have chosen to read this morning to sort of invoke the theme of the untethered soul and all of that is a poem actually by Saint Teresa of Avila, who was a Catholic mystic nun in Spain. We've actually been to her room. We've been in her room. We got locked in there because we had just gotten there, and the curator wanted to go have lunch and said, well, I won't be back for 30 minutes. And I said, fine, we'll sit here for 30 minutes. It was beautiful. It was lovely. Anyway, she says, the earth has seasons. When the mountain stream flows, when the holy thaws, when I am most fragile and in need, it was then, it seems, God came closest. God, like a medic on a field, is tending our souls. Our horns get locked with desires, but don't hold yourself too accountable, for all desires are really innocent. That is what the compassion in God's eyes tells me. Why this great war between the countries inside of your soul? What are all these insane borders we protect? What are all these different names for the same church of love we kneel in together? For it is true, together we live, And only at that shrine where all are welcome will God sing loud enough to be heard. Our horns got locked with the earth and sky in some odd marriage ritual. So what? Don't worry. We should be proud of ourselves for everything we helped create in this magic world. And God is always there if you feel wounded. God kneels over this earth like a divine medic, and God's love thaws the holy in us. So once again, we are attempting to place ourselves, you could say, into the heat of God so that the holiness that is within us will simply thaw, and that we will live from that place of goodness, of holiness, of divinity, and of trust, faith, hope, and love. And so our 7-week program, as we set out this morning, our intention is that we will all thaw a bit during these 7 weeks. And as always, we enter into a time of prayer for all those who have asked for prayer. And it's a collective time of knowing and sharing for each other and opening not to what we already know when we think of other people and even think of ourselves, but to the possibility within us all. That's what prayer does. It opens us up to the possibility of expansion. And so we pray, we have a long list. Linda Bauer, for Bob Castro, for Dale Frank, Charlie and Will McBride, Judy Carnell, Laurie Eaton, Jay Palmerino, John Giuliano, Brian Dowling, Alicia Clay, Sandy's mom. For Denise Mazzetti and family, for the intention of a young family. For John and Claudia Martin, Dennis and Penny Matthews, Kayla, Paxton Baker, John Miller, for Yvonne Bartlett, who is recovering from her second knee surgery, for Tiffin Dillon. So we see all these people as the wonderful divine beings of light that they are. We call that forth for them. If there's anybody else that you would like us to pray for, please say their names out loud at this time. Yes, for Anne-Marie Jaggi. Again, for Marlene Bottenfield. And we pray together. There is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as our lives, the all-loving goodness of God, and all is well. And so now Christy is going to read for us the daily word for today.
This is a great one for today. It's based on faith. And I think all of us, certainly I have been called to fall into a deeper level of faith. So the header for today is, with the assurance of faith, I move ahead with confidence. Faith is my guiding light. It keeps me hopeful when I'm tempted to doubt, and cheerful when I might otherwise feel gloomy. Faith tells me that even when the sky appears cloudy, the sun is still shining brightly above the clouds. Faith gives me a secure footing in the present as I plan for the future. Faith is the assurance that I am never alone, that everything I dream and do is divinely inspired. Every step I take in the direction of my aspirations is fueled by faith that they can come to pass. All of the wisdom, power, love, and strength of God are mine to express as only I can. Leaving timidity and hesitancy behind, I use these divine attributes boldly and with confidence. Faith shows me the way forward. And from Hebrews 11:1, now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
Thank you, Christy. So we have our time of meditation right now. You might want to just put your feet flat on the ground, sit a little bit upright. And if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And we start, as we often do, with the breath, just becoming aware of the breath. And we release. And we let go. All the cares and the concerns and the burdens that our thoughts have got us caught up in, like brambles and thorns. And we can feel all those thorns letting go, all those things that have hooked us. And there is a lot, isn't there, to be hooked by fairly intensely in these times. But we just imagine ourselves letting go of all of those. And we find ourselves in a freer space. We're free to be more expanded and more peaceful and more calm. And if we hear the sounds of the baby, we can just imagine that that's us. That's us cooing in the arms of God. Getting more playful, more childlike, content. And as we feel that expansion growing in our minds that are becoming still, even if there are stray thoughts that come like clouds across the sky, still it's serene, like the blue skies that we've had these past few days. And we feel that same energy in our heart space, a warmth, the warmth of the hearth, of the fireplace, where all those wonderful colors, the reds and the ambers and the russets, come alive, all representing energies of the spirit within us. And bringing our attention down into the gut. Again, we allow the gut to be calm and peaceful. Letting go of any restrictions or tensions that we might have there. Those fearful gut feelings, we just let go. And so we're building this inner column of peace and calm. All the way down into the earth, we could perhaps feel roots growing down beneath us, to the coolness of Mother Earth in these fall days. knowing that we too have leaves to let go of. It's okay. They've served us, we now let them go. And they will become the soil for new growth in our lives. And we move all the way up that column, all the way to the heavens, out to the stars and beyond, into that mystical, magical darkness of space and time. And I invite you to see or imagine, sense or feel a chair, a throne, a seat. This is the depth of your being. This is the place where you reside always, at peace, in calm, in serenity. And just feel yourself melting into the seat or the chair. And again, notice the release of the tension and the burdens from the shoulders and the neck peeling off of you as you take your seat in the soul. This incredible place of source energy from which we came, in which we are always evolving. Right now, in this moment, we are becoming. And we can imagine all of the pieces of our lives like a kaleidoscope that is gently changing image. And so we don't attempt to hold on to any one picture or image. We hold it so gently, we just appreciate the beautiful colors in its current form. And as we sense it changing shape and color in the next moment, we do so with ease and with grace, with faith, knowing that it's all okay. It's okay to let go. It's okay to receive the next and the next. And each time we simply appreciate what is before us. We allow our hearts to sing a song of praise and thanks for what is in each moment. And we can feel our hearts open and expand in receptivity, in expectation of our good as it unfolds anew. And I'm simply going to invite us to just be in this place, in the silence, for a few moments. And so we experience the incredible lightness of being itself. This is the energy that we can bring forth into our active lives. It is the source of all of our gifts and of all possibilities for our lives. And so we give thanks for all that has been, for what is now unfolding, and for the incredible that is yet to be. Thank you, God. Amen. And so from this place comes all of our giftedness, and now we listen to the giftedness of Kelly and her voice and her music and song.
God and I are one. God and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. God and I are one. Love and I are one. Love and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. God and I are one. You and I are one. You and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. God and I are one.
There we go. Can you guys hear me? Yep. Okay. So today, as I said, we begin our 7-week program of the study of the book, The Untethered Soul. And as I said last week, as I thought back over the last 20 years or so, of all the books that we've done, this was the book that I thought we should revisit for the times that we live in. And I think you will find that this book was written for us at this time, as we look especially back over the last year and a half or so. And we are being invited in this 7-week program to take a seat, namely to take the seat of our soul, to sit in the place where we are in touch with our soul and seeing life then from that place. So we start with an empty chair. You may not see this on Zoom, but there is an empty chair in front of me with a question mark. What's this chair? Who's sitting in it? What's this all about? And the chair is symbolic of ourselves, our true selves, that unchanging place, the place of our inherent consciousness. Remember when you were 5 years of age, and you can remember yourself sort of looking out through your eyes, and remember who you were and how innocent you were. And maybe you remember when you were 20 years of age, and you were in college or getting your first job or whatever. And again, you remember who that was and how that felt. Or when you were 40, or when you were 60. I'll stop there. it was the same consciousness, wasn't it? It was the same feeling, the same being. I remember my dad, when he was in his 80s, one day said to me, he said, I still feel the same as when I was 18. And I think we can all say that. Nothing has changed inside there over the years, despite all of our experiences and all of our ups and downs and disappointments and failures and successes and sadnesses. And we are the same in there. Life and everything we have experienced hasn't touched or damaged or hurt this consciousness inside of us, this beingness. It's inviolable. Thank God. And yet, this is the part of us that we are often least in contact with or have the least connection with, because we are busy up here on the stage, in the spotlight, performing, singing, dancing, saying the script, going along with the role that someone assigned us or we took on, based on who we think we are, who we're striving to be, or who others want us to be. You know, you can think of some of those dancers from those early movies, you know, frantically tapping and, you know, just worn out from the dance. Yeah. We're responding to all of those voices of fear and anxiety and, you know, wanting to be a success in life. And all the while, the soul sits quietly in the background, just being quiet. We don't even know it's there unless we stop and take a look. And doesn't it feel good when we did that meditation and I had you finally like drop everything, the burden of this song and dance? Doesn't it feel good? Oh, what a relief to get away from all that noise and activity and pressure. I'm just going to sit in the chair. Oh, God, it feels good. Sit down. Yeah. Just enjoy your chair for a moment. And think about the question mark. Who or what is sitting in that chair? And in chapter 2 of the book, the author points out to us that we will never have peace because there's this voice in our head that is a malcontent. It's never happy. It's always got a problem. And his advice to us, when we begin to perceive that there are problems in life, is to not ask, what should I do about this? But rather to ask, what part of me is disturbed by this? Who's upset? Who's disturbed? Basically, he's saying, don't buy into the belief that there's a problem. Instead, try to understand why we perceive that any situation is a problem, so that we can achieve peace in our lives and move away from this constant escalator of problems, one after the other, a conveyor belt of problems. We are inviting our problems to become teachable moments for us, rather than something to fix. And he says, this is really one of the key things. If you can get away from this idea, oh, I've got to fix this. Like every time there's some thought in your head that says, this is wrong, this is bad, this is a problem, or you have a feeling that this is wrong, bad, whatever, resist the temptation to fix it. because that's our MO. That's what the mind has had us doing for all of our lives. Once you notice the part of you which is disturbed, ask yourself, who is this person who sees or notices that you are disturbed? Who is that? Who's saying you are disturbed? Wait a sec, is there two people here? He says that this technique is the solution to every problem in our life. A spiritually minded person realizes that the problem is in the eye of the beholder and is not out there where we think it is. To find true freedom, we must learn to become the witness or the observer of our own mind's negative narrative that it continually employs. You know, it's like those ticker tape things on the news programs. There's a continual flow down there. You know, we're looking at something going on, and here's the commentary. And it's negative. So the solution to our problems is not to have to rearrange our lives on the outside, but to change our perspective from the inside. Become the observer or the witness who is taking the seat of consciousness. And from that vantage point, he says that it might be helpful to see our minds and that voice as a housemate or a roommate. Have you ever had a roommate from you know where? Come on, show of hands. Anybody? Yeah? Yeah. Okay. It's like there are two places that we can hang out in the mind. One is the place of the observer, and the other is the place of the personality that continually narrates a negative story like a really obnoxious roommate. We are not alone in the universe, we know, but neither, it seems, are we alone in our minds. And once we wake up to the realization that it is the negative inner voice that is ruining our experience of life, that it takes away the joy and the peace, once we get that, we have the key to our own peace and freedom. And he has a great technique that he uses to bring this idea home to us. He invites us to imagine that the voice is a person sitting next to us on the couch. As we listen to the constant negative commentary we find ourselves wanting to get away from as far as possible. And so he invites us to have an imaginary roommate, if you will. I was going to say friend, but it's not really a friend. And so he invites us to externalize that voice as an experiment and to see what our reaction is. How would you respond if a friend of yours talked about you in the way that that inner voice talks about you in your head? Would you ever ask them for relationship advice or for financial advice or any kind of advice? The author asks, if the voice were a person you had hired to give you advice, would you not have fired them by now? And yet we never fire the voice, do we? In our heads, no matter what it says, no matter how many times it's wrong, no matter how many times it gets us into trouble and causes us to have these explosive reactions, we continually listen, don't we? And we never say, shut up. Thus, we come to understand that there has ever only been one problem in our lives. And if we're standing in front of a mirror, we're looking right at it. It's the voice in our head. And so the question is, are we finally ready to ditch the negative voice in our head? Because as it stands, our life is really not our own when we listen to the voice. Our life becomes the life for and of that voice. And we are being run by an inner roommate, housemate, whatever you want to call it. So maybe I think we should all give a name to that roommate. So what name would you give that voice in your head? Just think about it for a moment. Some character maybe out of a movie or maybe someone from the past. Pick a name. Think about it. Hold on to it. And so the next time you have that moment of insight, call it by that name and say, enough. Ramana Maharshi, a great yogi, once said that in order to attain true freedom, we must continually ask the question, who am I? And so, with his devotees, he would continually have them ask that question over and over and over again. Because in each new moment, we need to answer that question. Because that's what the universe is inviting us to ask at that time. Who am I now? Not yesterday, not 20 years ago, 50 years ago. And it is interesting how challenging it is to give a good answer to that question, because we all have a tendency to start listing, who your parents were, who your brothers and sisters were, what you achieved in school, what college you went to, what job you have. None of those things are who we are. They're all what we've done or who we've been related to or whatever. They're just labels. So that is not a good answer to the question. Again, if you haven't tried to answer that question, I encourage you to spend some time doing so this week in our 7 weeks of the program. It's going to come up several times during the next seven weeks. When we were 10 years of age, we looked into that mirror and saw a 10-year-old body. Isn't it the same you who now looks and sees a different body? What we looked at has changed, but not the one looking. If you lost a finger or an ear or some part of your body, you don't think, part of me is gone. You don't have that feeling. You still feel like you're whole and complete in there. There's a continuity of beingness that has always been in there looking out. And we are not the objects that we see or encounter. We are not even the experiences at the end of the day. We're not the reactions or the feelings that we have. We are the one who has had them or who has observed them. And this is great news. Don't you want to hear that you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings? Thank God, because in any given day, you probably have 100 contradictory thoughts and many feelings that you wish you didn't have. They're not you. They're not you. And we know, don't we, that we exist even when we're not thinking. So we can't be our thoughts. We're just aware of them. But again, who is it that is aware of thinking and of feeling? It's me. It's the observer, who the author likes to think of as a presence sitting a little back behind me, the back of the mind, looking out, sitting on a chair back there. And so he's asking us in this first week of the program to start become more aware of that seat of the soul, to be in contact with it. Don't forget about it. And especially if you do get upset or you have very troubling thoughts, just let them go and go to that place. Connect with it. Because, there will always be clouds passing in the sky. We're not going to get rid of thoughts. We're not going to get rid of feelings, but we don't need to get hooked by them. And the way that we don't get hooked is to have this other sense of this place, of who we are always. And so on the spiritual path, we are invited to live from this place at the back of things, because that's where the source for our lives is, first of all. And it's where the mystery is unfolding. It's where we can ask questions. We can be intuitive. We can get a sense of what we're supposed to do or where we're going even. And this is our true home. And we can learn to experience our lives from this place rather than the vantage point of our negative inner roommate who's ruining our happiness all the time. This is the seat of the Buddhist self, the Hindu Atman, and where we can experience what we would call the Christ of our being. The Christ of our being is the awakened being, the awakened one. It is the place where we are aware that we are aware. Oh, okay, I'm aware. And I'm aware that I'm aware. It's the place where we can also know that we are never alone. Because when you go to that place, you feel this rich presence there. The one presence that we talk about always in unity. And so that's restorative. You know, if you're feeling lonely, go there and feel this inner presence of being that is so magnificent. So a couple of things for this week. He invites us to try out different things. One of the things that you could do is imagine as you go through life for one day that you are the divine. How would that influence how you see what's going on? All of the experiences that you have, the people that you bump into, the things you see on TV. How might you have a different experience if you are in touch with the fact that you are the divine? Ask yourself on a daily basis, just maybe once, who am I? And begin to shift the answer to that. Ask yourself, how are you doing in there? And you can ask both sides. You can ask the one that's disturbed, how are you? And not so good, really. Yeah, okay. And then you can ask that other side, how are you doing? I'm doing great. So, you know, the voice varies because there's the mental model that our mind is continually generating, and it's all about fix it, get control back. Everything is out of control. It's not the way you want. You have likes and you have dislikes, and the more you have likes and dislikes, the more complicated life is. Notice that it's your dislikes that are driving you crazy. Can you drop your dislikes? Do you have to have these very strong dislikes? There's a quote from the book that says, "The mind is the place where we go to hide from the heart, which hides our soul." So we have to start reversing this. And then a definition of self-realization is to realize who is really in there. Self-realization, capital S. Oh, that's who I am. Who is this unchanging being who's always observing, if we would just quieten down for a few minutes? And so Singer's hope, and my hope for all of us, is that at the end of the book, that we will know that we don't have a soul. I don't have a soul. I am a soul. You are a soul. And that we will live our lives from that place. Lots of good stuff to think about. It's interesting, we really didn't order too many books because I know we've had a lot of the books in the past, but wouldn't you know, we ran out. We didn't order enough. Jody, did you get a book? Okay. We found one. So you can come get it at the end. And if anybody else has maybe copies of the book that you're not using, just call Leslie and maybe bring it in, and we can either loan them or give them away to anybody else who's looking for a book. You can, of course, get all sorts of electronic copies of it online if you like. All right, so we move on with our power words for October. So every month, sort of, this is a little theme that Unity Worldwide Ministries asks us to look at. And the power this month is zeal. It's kind of an old-fashioned word, maybe from a different time, but there's something zingy about zeal. I ignite my zeal by focusing on what brings me joy. Together, I ignite my zeal by focusing on what brings me joy. And that might be just focusing on the seed of the soul. That'll bring me joy. All right. And so we have our time of prosperity, of affirming prosperity in our lives and for us as a spiritual community. We do have a basket here, which you can always drop a check into or money, and there's another basket at the back. And again, we give thanks for all of you, for all of those out there on Zoom who continue to go to PayPal or send in checks to keep us solvent. We really, really do appreciate that. Thank you. And so our love offering from today is up here on the slide. And I invite us all, as we place our hands on our hearts and as we feel the gratitude for our lives flowing from Source through us out as a blessing to the world, we say, my heart is open to receive and grateful for all my good I give fearlessly and with love. Beautiful. And Kelly is going to give generously and fearlessly a beautiful song for us at this time.
Thank you. Where are rainbows in each of us, I think. They wrap themselves around our souls. They channel love and form a link. Love moves in each of us, you know. And through the majestic arc it bends. Channel tenderly through our rainbow. It leaves its gifts, but then it tends to gain energy and flow on to all humanity. This lovely light, so full of joy, love never gone, and in its brilliance is God inside. It was written by Jerry Jeff Walker of Unity of Auburn, and I put some music to it.
Some of you may remember Jerry and Carrie Joy, who used to be members here long ago, and that's who she's talking about, who wrote that poem, and it was submitted to Unity, and it's in Unity magazine, I believe. Yeah? August issue. All right. Thank you. All right, we move on to our announcements. And as always, of course, this is a year of renewal and of wonder and of transformation and awakening, and we're going to be doing that through the 7-week program, of course. The 7-week fall program, as you know, is beginning today, and so if you want to be part of it, we do have 2 live in-person groups. Christy and Patricia will be meeting at Christy's home at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays, and then Sandy, where's Sandy? She must have stepped out. She will be hosting one here on Thursdays at 10 a.m. And then I'll be hosting the Zoom study group on Tuesdays as part of the spiritual exploration group that we always have. So, and if you can't be part of a group, if that doesn't work out, just follow along yourself. And there's a lot of stuff online. You can get a lot of stuff about the book. 10 a.m. And that Zoom link will go out tomorrow. So if you want that, you can sign up at the back for the e-bulletin, and Leslie will put you on there and send you all these links. Okay? And again, we just remember our women's group that is taking a hiatus until the COVID numbers go down. Just want to keep that out there. And again, volunteer. This is a great time to volunteer. We need help. So consider volunteering, please. And having said that, I want to thank Christy, who stepped in this morning just to fill in for Marlene. We thank Dennis up there on sound, and Chris and Leslie. And Craig, who's doing double duty because he's filling in for someone else that was supposed to be on camera, and he was fulfilling his welcome duties out front. And Christy brought the beautiful bouquet of flowers. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, there's lots that we can do. So thank you all for being here, especially. And the Way of Mastery groups, just giving it a final plug here, we have 2 new groups, one at 1 p.m. and one at 6:45 on Mondays on Zoom. And again, the links will go out tomorrow if you haven't got that. And there it says, Spiritual Exploration, Tuesdays with me. We will be studying the untethered soul. All right. Oh, I knew there was one more volunteer I wanted to acknowledge. Carly, would you stand and face your loving congregation? For 8 years, every weekend, Carly would send us the new names that we need to pray for the Sunday service. She's been doing that for 8 years. And yesterday was her final time. She's stepping down from the role. And Carly, isn't this interesting? Carly, you take a bow, stand up there so that people know you. Carly Towsley is going to be taking that over. It must be something about the Carleys. They're willing to do this. So thank you, Carly. You've been such an asset to Unity in the Gold Country since day one, literally. And oh, look who's up there. She's now gardening. Jeez. There's no end to this woman's talents. So if you would like to do a little gardening, you can kind of take a plot. And Catherine, thank you. Catherine was out here for hours weed whacking the whole front of the center last week. Thank you. We appreciate all these things. All right, I think it's time for our unity prayer. So if you want to stand, we can say that together. And then Kelly will lead us in our closing song. Here we go. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, because I am, and all is well. And you know, for our 7-week program, we kind of go through the colors of the rainbow. Today was red. There's a few of you who got that memo. Next week, it's that color that you all have in your closets, orange. So if you happen to have something orange and you're joining us, please wear it. It gives you a chance to, wear the 80% of your clothing that you never wear. All right, take us away, Kelly.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace in my family is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one son. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because we choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. We choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one choice unites us. Let this be the one. We choose love. We choose love. We choose love. Thank you. And Sandy will be available for prayer in the chapel if anybody would like private individual prayer. Thank you. Have a great week.